Sony isn't the first name that springs to mind when you think of popular smartphone manufacturers, but what's new? Well, this is new. It's the Xperia XZ2. XZ2? Anyways, it's the new Sony flagship intended to tempt you away from your Galaxies and iPhones, but it's not just another routine launch. Sony's trying something new, ditching the omnibalance design language it's stuck with for the past 5 years. I like that Sony had its own thing going on, but I'm also into the new direction it's taking with the XZ2. The device is covered almost entirely in glass, and when you mix that with smooth curves, you get something that feels great in your hand. It really does. It screams premium, even though, God forbid, there's a sliver of bezel framing the display. The fingerprint reader is in an awkward position though. It sits a little too low on the back and I find myself pawing at the camera glass instead, when my fingertip naturally rests. Sony supplies its smartphone cameras to many rival phone makers, and for the XZ2 it's chosen a 19 megapixel motion eye sensor. It's a single, simple camera that takes beautifully detailed, well-saturated snaps, but there are a couple of things the XZ2 can do that no other phone can. You can shoot video in 4K HDR, for example. Strangely, while regular 4K clips look great, the HDR versions just appear really overexposed. Plus, unless you have a 4K HDR TV or fancy monitor at home, you'll only be playing back these clips on the phone itself. Then there's the super slow-mo video recording at Full HD. On some Sony devices and the Galaxy S9 and new Huawei P20 Pro, you're able to record at 960 frames per second at 720p. Take it from me, it's extremely hard to time correctly because you can't reactively hit that button. By that point, whatever you wanted to see in slow motion has already happened. It gets nigh on impossible if you try the same in Full HD, because it shortens the slow-mo window from 0.2 seconds to just 0.1 seconds. Unless you're a Minority Report precog, the feature isn't even trial and error, it's just error. Selfie addicts might also not be best pleased to see a 5 megapixel front-facing camera above the display. Sony's positioning the XZ2 as an entertainment device. This idea starts with the 5.7-inch HDR display. Sony's X-Reality engine is always working in the background to upgrade standard dynamic range content to HDR. It's quite subtle, but switch this setting on and off and you can definitely see the added depth and contrast it adds to, say, YouTube videos. The screen doesn't cope so well in direct sunlight, however, and when you really jack the brightness up you can almost see the battery draining in real time. When I'm doing the review dance, I'm taking pictures, playing games, prodding at it constantly, and I've had to plug the thing into a wall by late afternoon. Sony's included stereo speakers on the XZ2 which you can turn up pretty loud. You won't want to though because audio quality is not good. It's raspy, bass tones are empty. The strangest thing about the XZ2 is a feature Sony calls dynamic vibration. This basically turns audio into gamepad-like vibrations. It doesn't work with every app and none of the games I like to play. All told, it's gimmicky. If you want a numb hand though, crank the vibration level up to max and put a bass-heavy track on. While dynamic vibration isn't a good reason to buy the XZ2, the Snapdragon 845 chip at its core most definitely is. It's the best processor money can buy right now. The XZ2 runs flawlessly, like turning on a new computer after using the same old laptop for untold years. Everything's so smooth, apps load instantly, all the games play at the highest settings. This thing absolutely flies and I haven't experienced a single hang, crash or other gremlin. Android 8 Oreo deserves some of the credit, no doubt, and luckily the skin Sony's layered on top doesn't slow things down. Performance alone is a good reason to consider picking up the XZ2, the glossy design and good camera mere bonuses. But the elephant in the room is Samsung's Galaxy S9. It's the only other phone available with a Snapdragon 845 chip right now, and you'll want nothing less in 2018. That's a bit of a problem for Sony because the S9 and S9 Plus are better on paper. They have higher resolution screens and improved front-facing cameras. Variable aperture settings and AR emoji are unique features people might actually use. lose compared to dynamic vibration and 0.1 second of Full HD super slow-mo. We don't have firm pricing or availability info for the XZ2 in the US, but in the UK it launches on April 6th for £699. Sony phones are usually a little on the expensive side, so all fingers point to the XZ2 being in the $750 to $800 range. With the Galaxy S9 selling for $720 and the S9 Plus $840, you're really going to have to dig Sony's post-omnibalance design to justify picking up the XZ2 over the S9. And if you do, you won't be disappointed. The XZ2 is, right now, still one of the best flagships around.